Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Today you can see that we are doing another step-by-step painting tutorial. That's probably why you've clicked on it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this painting. Here we've got our canvas. You can see on the canvas I've already done a little sketch from the reference photo. So if you want to take a little bit of time and do just a rough sketch, kind of lay some things out, take a little bit of time. I just did it with a pencil. Just to give myself an idea of where things need to be, and then you can kind of get into the painting here. So with most paintings, I always start with the background and work my way to the foreground, just so for layering, then you're not trying to paint around things if you're doing the foreground first and then doing the background. And so we are going to start with the background, then work into the faraway mountains. Excuse me, and then get closer and closer to our island in the middle there, and then we'll work on our reflection. Now, just for time's sake, because I'm gonna have to do this in a few different stints, I'm gonna kind of go in that order, but if you were doing it all at once, you could try to do the matching parts kind of at the same time a little bit, so then you're using those exact same colors that you're using throughout. But we're going to start just with the sky here. I might block in a little bit of the sky in the reflection, but won't do the whole thing there. Alright, so for this nice beautiful sunset sky here, I'm going to be using a few different colors. The paint I'm using today is Liquitex Basics. They're a nice solid paint, but they're not too pricey. They have really good vibrant colors. The consistency is good, but you're not breaking the bank buying them. So I'm going to use some cobalt blue. I'm going to use some brilliant purple. I will be using some titanium white and probably some yellow ochre and a little bit of red, just to get more with this. This is yellow oxide, sorry, not yellow ochre. Just to get a little bit more of an orange right close to the mountains there. But I'm going to start with a little bit of this cobalt blue in the top corner here. And right away with this, I'm going to be using some white. The reason I'm using cobalt blue is closer to a cooler blue, closer to that purple. I'm going to mix it a little bit with this brilliant purple here. I'm just going to start with that. And for that, I'm just going to use a 1-inch, just a flat brush here, just to get some nice coverage going. I'm going to mix just a little bit here before I get going too far. Oh yeah, it's going to be a nice color there. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of this before I start now so I can get it nice and thick on there. I'm just doing some nice horizontal brush strokes just to get this one covered here. Alright, now We're gonna have to start working pretty quickly here if we want things to blend properly. So I'm just gonna lay out a few different colors. Lay out some yellow. Lay out some pink. And some red. And if you have some, you could add some of this retarder fluid, and this just extends the drying time of your paint, so you have a longer time to blend it. I don't know if all of you will have this, and so I'm not going to use this at this time, but that is a really good option if you're wanting to extend drying time of your paint. It just gives you more time to work with it, and it's a nice additive that you can use there. So now I'm just kind of adding some pink in here, working my way back into that blue just slightly, just to add a nice transition between the two. And if you feel like you've gone too far, you can always go back to the blue color that we were using and work your way the opposite way, right back into the pink. So I'm going to go back in here with this blue, get a bit more purple, a little bit of that white. Okay, and then take a bit more of this pink and white here. Mix that together a bit more here on my palette. And it kind of comes down this mountain side just a little bit more. I need more white though. This is too dark right now. There we go, especially for this corner too. That gets lighter there in that corner. And lighter. Down there. Right in the middle here, I'm just looking at my own reference photo. Sorry, I should tilt that down so you can see it a little bit better. It really becomes just a neutral color, kind of where everything's mixing together. But it's just a really light color before we turn into the yellows and the oranges that are going to be going on down here. So I'm just going to get some more white here. That's still very purpley. And again, just brushing it in as I go here. Get a little bit more of that pink to mix into the top area here. Now as we start working our way down, I'm going to grab some yellow ochre here. And some more white. And work my way back up into that. So there's a nice transition between the two. And work my way over to this side. We want as smooth of a transition as possible. So again, you kind of have to work a little bit fast here to get that transition. Okay, I'm going to grab just this little bit darker here. That's nice. It's a good color. And I'm just doing these light strokes here, and that's just helping it blend. I'm going to grab just a little bit of red onto this. Ooh, red is a very powerful color. And I'm going to use this right along this bottom part here where the mountains meet. And on mine you can still see that we're meeting. Not that we're meeting. I guess I should say where we're meeting the mountains. You can still see the pencil underneath, and that's good. That's what we want. All right. There we have our nice sunset gradient of a sky. So I'm just going to rinse this off for a minute here. So before I rinse it, I usually like to wipe it off, get the excess paint off. I just use rags from old clothes. I just cut them up, use rags there. See, it was a little bit dirty. I got some stuff on my canvas. I'll have to brush that off. Alright, so there's our background. Now we're going to work into the mountains. So the mountains, you can see, are just a more saturated purple and kind of pinks and oranges going in through there. And so for that, I don't have that deep saturated purple just already mixed in paint. So for that, I'm just going to use my cobalt blue and some red here, and just mix those together, and we'll see what kind of purple we get here. There we go. Here's a nice deep purple. I'm going to take a little bit of this brilliant purple that I already have and just add a little bit into here. That's giving me a nice purple. Okay, so this is going to be for kind of these left mountains, the background, and the lower bits of some of these other ones. And I'm going to try here, just try something out. I'm going to take some of this pink, mix some of this purple in here. Maybe just a little bit more red to them as well. That's a pretty good color. And then that same thing now, but just with some yellow ochre. Yeah, this is a pretty good color, actually. I'm going to need a little bit more white into some of these as well, so let's put a little bit more white down. Alright, let's start with that, and we'll go from there. For the mountains here, I'm just going to use this flat 1/4 inch brush here, just a little bit smaller. I might use something even smaller than that to get a few of the details that I want to do in here as well. I'm just going to kind of touched a spot here. I just want to adjust a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take this deep purple, and this is just going to be my base for these mountains over here. Alright, now on top of that, I've already mixed some white in with this purple. So I'm going to take that in here and just kind of blend that in throughout. That's going to make it much more of a solid color. But But then with this one, I'm also going to add just a little bit of detail to these mountains. What I mean by that is you're just going to add a little bit of direction to kind of like the flow of these mountains, which way rocks are flowing downwards. Need a little bit more white here. And then towards the tops of these mountains and in some different spots, you can see that the sun is getting through. And so we want to add in a little bit of these lighter colors here to show that that sun is getting through to those spots. I'm going to blend some of this pink downward into the mountainside here. And also up on top of this peak here. With nature paintings, it's important to remember where your light source is, where the sun is. And so ours, the sun's obviously coming this way. Sorry, you can't really see when I do work like that. as you go from left to right, I'm going to make these mountains even lighter than what they were before, and kind of more faded here. And as you're changing colors here and kind of blending it in, that's going to create some texture for you in itself. And so you won't need to worry too much about going back in and creating texture on these mountains and hills here. Alright, that's how I'm going to leave that background mountain for now. And now we'll work our way into the foreground. I'm just going to rinse this off. I just don't want paint to dry on it as I'm going here. I'm probably going to use this one again a little bit to block our next spot in. And then I'll use a little bit of the fan brush I have down here. The reason I had this brush out is you could use this to help you blend out the sky a little bit, but we're past that already. Using a nice little mop brush like that can be good for blending. Alright, so for our next layer here, we're getting closer to the foreground, and so we're going to want an even deeper purple than what we've worked with so far. And so I'm going to grab some red here. I'll grab some of this blue that I just laid out. Make a nice deep purple. And honestly, at some parts, it's almost going to be like a black. So I know some people with nature paintings, they say don't ever use pre-mixed black, make your own black. For ease sake here, we're going to grab our own little black. And just with the purple that's still on my palette knife, I'm just going to mix that in with black. And I'm going to use just a hint of white, just to soften that black just a little bit. Alright, and with that now, I'm going to go in and just kind of box in. Needs just a little bit more white. Needs to be softened just a little bit more. There we go, that's better. So it's going to be, I guess, like a really dark gray is kind of what we're going for, because I'm going to use black on the island part to kind of box in that island part. So again, I'm just going to use this really dark gray, and if you want to, you could grab a little bit more red and blue in there to make it be more so a really dark purple. And I'm just going to box in where I want this to be. I'm going to go a little bit short because that's where I'm going to add some details of trees. So go ahead and just box this area in here. Alright, now with this purple up here, I just added a little bit of white to it just to kind of soften it up a little bit. I feel like it needs a little bit more. It's still just a little bit too saturated for this layer. Yeah, even that's better. And so now with this one, I'm going to kind of add it in here just by dabbing it, and it's going to blend into the purple underneath of it here, or I should say the black. And in some spots I'm actually going to brush it in, like right along this shoreline here. I'm going to brush it in so it blends more with that black that's there. And same with this other side here. It needs a little bit more of that in there. Just gonna actually brush some in here. And brush some in throughout up here as well. And right over on this face especially. I'm just dabbing this in with vertical strokes here. And this is creating the texture of trees without having us have to do all the grunt work. I'm going to switch brushes here. So I'm just going to rinse this off. We'll use this one again later. I'm just going to switch here to the fan brush. You can see this one's seen better days. Got it taped together there. And I'm just going to get some on just one end of the fan brush here. I'm just going to use that, and that's going to be... Actually, I will get some of the darker stuff on here too. And I'm just going to go above that line that I painted just a little bit. And this is going to act more like the details of those little trees that you can see there. So this is just a bristle fan brush, nice and stiff. Then I'm going to do that same thing now, but on the other side here. I'm going to take just a little bit more of this purple here and just dab this in throughout as well, lightening it up in a few spots and just adding a bit more texture to it. Add just a little bit of white to that so it's even lighter, and just add this into a few spots here. Alright, then at the very top of this one little hill here, there's just a bit more rock face. And then just forest, so I'm just going to paint in a little bit here. But I do want it to blend in. And then there's a little house right on top. You don't have to paint it. I'm just gonna kind of try it here a little bit. And I'm gonna take some more of this purple here. Just kind of add a little bit of, that's too light. There we go. And if you wanted to with this fine brush, you could with these darker colors here. Just go in and add any little details of trees on top if you wanted to as well. But I think the Bristle fan brush did a fine job with that. Alright, I'm going to take a break. I've got to actually head off to work. So I will come back, and for you it'll just be a little blip in time. Alright, so as you know, I took a little break. Now I'm back. I think taking a break sometimes is good because it gives you fresh eyes on your painting and fresh eyes on if you need to adjust anything. And I think now that I'm back, I want to just make these trees just a little bit lighter. I feel like they're just a little bit too dark. And so I'm just going to take some of this brilliant purple here, add some right there, and I'm actually going to try some Payne's gray, which is really just like kind of a gray blue. Just want to see what this makes here. It might be too gray for my liking, but we'll find out. Oh no, that's not bad. And I'm going to put just a little bit of red down. Sorry, I'm making a mess already here. I think that the red just made it a little bit too saturated for what I would like, so I'm just going to add some blue back in there. Alright, so now with that color here, I'm just going to get my fan brush again. And just do as I did before. And just dab that over top of this darker color that we have going on here. And that'll be nice to have that darker color underneath still, because that'll create a lot of that distance and texture still, so that's totally fine. It was just a little bit too black in my opinion by itself. Alright, that's better, I think, because now as we get into the little island here, that's going to be the really dark spot. Alright, I'm going to just rinse off the fan brush again here. Set that off to the side. Alright, now as we work our way into our island, I think I'm just going to block everything in first with some really dark, probably just some black, most of it, and then I'll go in and add details on top. So I'll do black just for kind of like the land part, blocking in, and then for the buildings I'll do just some other colors because we don't really need those to be all black to start. So for the island here, I'm going to grab just my small 000 brush here and just work with this one for now. There's that little building down there, so I'm just going to leave a little spot open just so I remember where that is. Alright, now before I add any of the trees and stuff like that in here, and any detail on the island, because we're going to add some dark browns and purples in there still, I'm going to go in and do some of the actual building work now. And so for these buildings, the shadow side of these buildings are still kind of like a brownish purple, and then the lighter side is more of an orange, like we did kind of up on these mountains here. It's like that's where that orange color from the sun is coming from. And so you can see I have that sketch in there still of where the tower is going to be and the other few buildings here. And so we'll go in here and kind of start working with that. So for that, I'm going to grab some raw umber, just a dark brown. We're going to use that a little bit. I'm going to use this yellow oxide again here. We'll probably end up using some more of this bright purple, so I'll put some more of this down here as well. Alright, so for the shadow side of these buildings, they're all made of the same stone there. And so I'm going to mix that color first. I think I'm just going to use this spot here, then it's easier for you to see. So I'm grabbing some raw umber with it. It's actually not a bad color to start. just gonna, for my own sake, I'm just gonna draw one more little spot here. Just rinsing the black off of that brush. Alright, so I do really like this color that we just got going there, but I feel like I do need a bit of a darker one as well. Add just a hint of black to that. Alright, so we kind of got 3 shades of this darker one now. Okay. So I'm going to start with my lighter shade here. Just fill in where that is on these buildings. I feel like that's a pretty good color. So if you missed how I made it exactly, again, I just had that my brilliant purple, just a lighter purple, added some brown, some darker brown to it, and a little bit of black as well, and that pretty much did the trick for me. And again, this is the shadowy side of the buildings. The sunny side of these buildings we'll do a little bit of a different color here. So this building kind of extends over. Looks like it has little connections to it as well. So we're going to have a shadowy side all the way over to here. And this building here is actually in the shadows the whole time. I'm going to take that darker color and put some of that on this side of this building. Now for the tower, I took some of the darkest that I had. Mix some of that up. Grab some of this lighter and finish that tower going up here. And this building actually needs to come over just a hair more. And we've actually got, well, we'll leave that right there. This part right here actually comes down just a little bit further than the other spots. Alright, I'm just going to rinse that little brush off just for a minute here. And I'm just going to grab my really small bristle brush here. I've got a few stray strands on it. I'm just going to quickly snip. Now with this, I'm just going to grab some of those colors here and then just dab them into the buildings, hoping to kind of create a bit of texture like the bricks are creating on the buildings. And I'm adding a little bit of brown to them as well, and just kind of dabbing that in. Okay, I'm gonna set that down for just a second here. Rinse this off. Now again with just our little round brush here, I'm just gonna go in and add a few of the details here. Alright, we'll go in here. Later as well and continue to add detail as we go. Not adding a ton of detail, just some of the major points there. As you can see, just some of those really dark windows, the shadow underneath the roofs. Now as we add the roofs, and we'll get more of that in there. And so for these roofs, I'm going to use just this dark brown, the raw umber that I had, a little bit of red, some more of that purple, a little bit of black just to mute that darker than what we have it, and just a hint of white. Again, I'm just trying to mute those colors a little bit with that black and that white. Okay, this is going to be the darker side. So I'm just going to use this small round again. This is going to be the roof of this building here. Feel free to turn the canvas as you need to get a better angle of what you're trying to do. This is a little bit fine detail work. And that roof is going to come over. It'll be down there with a lighter version of what we're doing here, but I'm just going to use this one for now. Alright, so that's the dark side of those roofs. Now for the lighter side, I'm just going to grab some white here. And I feel like it needs just a hint more of red. And that's going to be where the sun is hitting on these roofs going the other way here. Sorry, I gotta flip this guy around a little bit here. Okay, now for the front of those buildings, where the sun is hitting on the buildings, I'm going to get some more of that yellow oxide here. Bit of that red. It needs to be a bit more orange. There we go. Try adding a little bit of that in here. That's just a little bit too saturated now, and add a little bit of white to that and kind of mute that down just a bit. When we go in and add a little bit of detail on top, then that'll mute it down for us a bit more. But then the side of the tower here is the same, right? It's going to be nice and bright for us too. I added a little bit of pencil just slightly further than what I wanted there, so I'm just going to, before I get too close to it with this paint, there we go, just took my eraser and erased some of that pencil. I went a little bit too far out for what I am actually going to be painting out here. Alright, in the beginning I didn't take my light purple background here out far and purpley pink. Well, that's not a good color. Should be a bit better there for me. That's better. I didn't take that out quite far enough, so I'm just going to add in a little bit there. Just soften up those borders. And I feel like even closer to the top there, we're leaning in a bit where I feel like this needs to come in. Going to add a little bit of pink around where this tower is, because I feel like it's a little bit too much there, if that makes sense. Alright, we got the basis of our buildings and trees, and now on these buildings on this side over here we got a few windows in this one, so I'm just going to add a few little window lines. There's some out back here as well on this one. In my reference image there's quite a few trees back here, but I'm going to add some of these windows here because they will show through these trees. Now I'm going to go in, and I've got some of this just really dark brown down here. It looks like there's a little shed down here, and we'll just paint this in here. Nothing too complex, just a little building. It's got a gray roof, so we're just going to add a gray, get a bit more white here. And this is going to be ending. We'll have a couple of trees in front of this too in the end, so I'm not too worried about it. All right. That's all right there. Now let's go in with some of this really dark brown again. I'm just going to add a little bit of black to it here. And we'll add the little tower here. Now, wiping off that darker color, I'm going to take some of this roof brown that we had here and add it on to the one side. Where the sun would be. All right, and I think that's where I'm gonna have to stop again for today. That took a little bit longer, but that's fine. It's been fun to do this one. So yeah, I'll take a stop and come back and work on the rest of the island, and then we'll work down into the reflection. Alright, so I'm back again. So we're going to continue on with the island here. Now we're going to move into more of like the foliage and trees that are actually on the island. And yeah, add some more details into that. So for that, what I'm going to start with is getting a little bit of this brilliant purple coming down. And some raw umber coming in here as well. And some Mars black. So I am going to use my trusty fan brush a little bit here just to add a little bit of texture throughout the island. But before we get into that, I don't want to use pure black because that's what I used as my base. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and some burnt umber there. Just a hint of this purple. There's one. I know it's going to be hardly different, but that's one little layer I'm going to add. Now there's some, I say burnt umber, I meant raw umber. It's just more of a muted, darker brown. And then here's just a little bit lighter. That's hard for you to see because there's a reflected light right on it. It's just a dark brown here as well. And then here's more of just a brown with that purple in there. So between these three, we're just going to go in here and just to start here, I'm just going to dab a little bit in. I'm not really doing any of the trees that are coming out yet. I'm going to wait to do that in just a second here. Okay, small space. That's all I really needed to add there. I'm just going to wipe this off a little bit. So now I'm going to get into the trees and stuff that are there. And the trees that are there, they really use pretty much a black. I'm just going to add some black here. And just a hint of this purple. And that's mainly the color we're going to be using here for these trees. So I'm going to get some just on part of my fan brush here. And I'm just going to come in and dab some up into some of these spots here. Now we're coming off of that main, we're coming off of the ground here of the island. So I'm not doing this on the buildings yet because I feel like it covers up a little bit too much area that I don't want to cover up on the buildings. So I'm going to be done with the fan brush for now. And I'm going to just bring out the small 000 round brush here. I feel like I need a little bit more of this. Okay. So with this now, you just got to do a little bit of detail work, and it's going to be a little bit slow going here, but in the end, sometimes it's just these little details that really make a painting. So I think I'll do a little bit of a time lapse here for you so you can continue adding on as well, like these trees and everything like that, but you don't need to sit here and watch me do it. So I'll fast forward it. You can see I'm just adding in these trees all throughout, just these lines all throughout. Alright, that's where I'm gonna go there for the trees and stuff on the island. Now we're gonna start working into the reflection a little bit. So for the reflection, you can go about it in one of two ways. You could start with the sky and do a whole kind of cover here and then add things over top. Or you could kind of go piece by piece like we did before. And so I think what I'm going to do here is I'll start with the sky. And now normally with reflections, I shouldn't say normally, not all the time, but I feel like often with reflections, everything's just slightly darker than what it is. Not in the reflection, so we're gonna try to apply that here as we're working our way through. And so I'm gonna get back out one of these flat brushes here to do some blending in the sky. And I'm not gonna need so much of the blue anymore because you can see the top of the mountain is there, top of the mountain is there. So we're just gonna be going more so with purple, just a little bit of blue to make it a little bit darker than what we needed before. And we'll start blending that in here. And now with this sky part, I'm going to keep more, here I did kind of diagonal strokes, I'm going to keep more horizontal strokes, as the ripples in the water are often just kept horizontal, especially on a calm morning such as what we're painting here, or evening. So I just feel like this purple was just slightly too dark for what I want in the end up here. I know I did say I wanted it a little bit darker, but I think it was just a little bit too dark. Okay, that's looking good. Now we can move down into our mountains. Just need a bit more of this purple. Now that we're getting into actual formations in the reflection, if it's really calm, then it's almost going to be a perfect reflection. But along the edges of the mountains, we're going to add kind of like little ripples coming out. And so we're just going to say there's some dark purple here. We're just going to extend it out just slightly so it crosses over into what is there before. And that's going to add some nice reflection signs for us. I'm just mixing some more of this dark purple here. All right, now on tops of the mountains, there's that little bit of pink. I'm just taking some pink and mixing it in with the color that I already had. I need a bit more than that. There we go. You can kind of add it in also wherever you feel like it is necessary in there to get that reflection to be a little bit more true to life. Alright, I hope that's going okay with you so far. So I'm just, as you can see, just slowly working my way in there. Keep nice horizontal brush strokes to blend things in, and then along the edges just kind of turning it sideways and going along to kind of show some blending between the two. I've got to take a break here again. Sorry about that. But when I come back, we will continue to work through that reflection of the mountains, and then the trees, and then the actual little island, and that'll be it. We're getting close. I'm excited for this one. Testing. Okay. Alright, so I'm back again. Still going to continue with this flat brush here, 1/4 inch brush. Going to continue on working my way through these reflections. So I'm going to be finishing the mountains kind of over in here, then we'll work into the darker trees, and then the buildings and island itself here. So for these mountains over here, I'm going to need some of this yellow oxide. If you have yellow ochre or something, again, remember that will be just fine. Used a little bit of pink with that. Hint of red. And then down into the mountains there, we also used some more of this purple. Alright, so I'm going to take some of this. Just a hint of red, because this red has been pretty potent. Take some pink there. That's getting us a pretty good color. Okay, now I'm going to take some to the side here. Mix it with that purple. That's actually pretty good. Alright, I'm going to start with that. I feel like I could go a little bit darker, kind of down on those spots. I'm just going to use a little bit of raw umber. Just to make a little bit darker of a shade. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So I'm probably going to end up covering up much of this pencil that I drew in here, but I'm not too worried about that. So I'm going to take some of this darker to start here. And that's going to come right down this side here into that. Okay, take a little bit of the medium there. Start working my way over. And again, I'm just using horizontal brush strokes. Still some of that medium color here. Then on the edges there, I'm just going to kind of turn it sideways, as you can see there, and just spread those out a little bit. Okay. I feel like I have this pencil lined a little bit too far down here anyways. Gonna take some of this lighter that I have here, start mixing that in here a little bit, Again, just using some nice horizontal brush strokes. Then I feel like up here you can see the light coming and hitting the mountain. I haven't really added that too much in this side, so I'm going to take some of that lighter colors here and add that into this side of the mountain. And it is a bit more pink on the top, so I'm just going to take a bit more pink. Alright, I'm going to let that sit. I might need to do another layer over that. I haven't quite decided yet. But I'm going to go in now and do the really dark highlights in there. So for that, I'm going to just be using some Mars Black, some of the purple, and that's pretty much it. I will mix a little bit of that here. I do have some stuff on my palette knife here still, but I'm not too worried about that. So we'll have the dark behind, then we'll have some lighter closer to the front. All mixed in together there. I'm just gonna wipe this off. I don't need to rinse it off. Start with the darker. Now I'm going right up to the shoreline there. And for this part, I need to come up a bit. Here, just hold on a second. Want some more of this darker purple. Excuse me. Sorry, I actually just feel like this mountain reflection here needs to come down a little bit more. And so I'm just going to mix a little bit more of this here. Okay, now let's go back in and add some of this, and we'll kind of see where we're at here. Then I'll make a decision. Alright, I do like that a bit better. Again, I'm just kind of fluffing out the reflection here a little bit. Now I'm going to take some of this lighter and just kind of add it on top there. So that darker is still going to show through in much of it, but we'll have this lighter purple also be there for much of it. All right, now we need to work into the island here. I'm just going to add a darker layer here just in front. And now we'll kind of move into doing the details of the buildings. So I'm just going to rinse that brush off because I'm done with that one for now. Dry that one off. So I'm going to be using this small round brush here for the majority of the rest of it. So you can see I've got the top of the tower here coming up above here. Then we're coming down. It's not going to be a full one-to-one reflection of the island. The buildings are going to be starting right around in here, and we're also going to kind of create like a little fog mist kind of coming off of that lake, as if that fog is coming off in the morning, you know. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some of this really dark, this black. I'll mix a little bit of purple and raw umber in there, and I don't want much on my brush. And I'm just going to take that here, and we're going to start with the spire, and that kind of comes down here, and I'm going to just add a few little horizontal strokes every now and again to kind of wash that out. There we go. And now I'm going to move that down. To about there. Again, every once in a while, just adding kind of little horizontal strokes. I'm going to take some more of that burnt umber here, a little bit of that yellow oxide. And just add it on the sides. Now you can see I'm not totally filling it in because that is also kind of creating that water movement sensation here as well. I'm taking the yellow oxide, just a hint of red there to give me a little bit more of that orange feel that we have going on up here. Add this down the side here, right down to there. And I'm going to drop a little bit of white. Just to mute this color just a little bit. And then on the other side, we're going to be using, did I use it all? Oh, we got a little bit of purple there still. Some of that purple, some of that burnt umber, or sorry, raw umber, and even some of that yellow. Need a bit more purple in there. Kind of cool that back down a little bit. Yeah, I can tell it's too brown. Yeah. All right, let's try a little bit of that in here. So I'm gonna take that right down into there. I need it a little bit darker here for the edge. Not quite that dark, I guess. No. Use some black. I have any just pure black left? Yeah, there's some. For those windows and just above it. A little bit on that side, just a little bit more I feel like it needs, just to kind of finish that off. Okay. Now we've got the one beside it. Sometimes it's hard. It's like you're trying to paint something upside down. I guess you shouldn't really look at it that way, but that's what it feels like, right? Okay, so we need some more of this raw umber. Just a hint of red going into there, and some more purple. That's going to give us this rooftop color here. Just a hint of white, just to mute this down a bit. Perfect. And then it's coming off to the side here as well, and coming back down here. Then we just need a darker version of that for the other side. Needs to be a bit more muted here. That same color then is coming on over here. All right. So that's all I'm doing for the reflection there. And now I'm going to go in. I guess before I go any further, you could leave it like this if you like it like that. I'm going to go in and add a little bit of my brush was shedding. Go in and add a little bit of that fog across the top of the water here. And so I've just grabbed this really round, fluffy, it's number 4. Just nice and round, it's nice and fluffy. And I'm just going to take white, and I'm going to mix a couple of different things here first. So I've got some white there. If I use this one, no, that one's dry. Just going to take a little bit of pink with one of them, and I'm going to take a little bit of purple with another one, and I'm going to leave the other one as it is. Now you can do 2 different things here. You can either just use water to really water it down, or if you have any retarder fluid, or if you have any glazing liquid, then you could use that as well. For your sake, because I don't know what you'll have, I'm going to take just a little bit of water here. Just water this down. And now on the top of the water here, take a little bit of that purple and stuff in there too. There we go. I'm just going to go in here. And I'm just lightly brushing that over top of this water here. And right now it looks like it's covering quite a bit, but as it dries, it will really kind of sink away. I'm going to take a little bit of the pink, add some of that pink into there. I feel like it needs some more. Taking a bit more of that purple in there now. Now I am going to take a little bit of black here. Just kind of add a little bit down, a bit more black to it. And almost blend a little bit of that out here as well. Okay, I want some more of that pink. For that, I'm just going to have to rinse this off quick because that black is pretty potent. I really need to dry it all the way off, but dried it a little bit off. Yeah, that pink is looking real good in there. Okay, we'll do a little bit of purple in there as well. You want to make it somewhat fade away, so I'm trying to just do a really light wash a little bit further out from it. Okay. So if you want to adjust anything, now is the time to do that, and now is the time to also grab your little brush and sign it. So I usually like to use colors that I have been using throughout the painting here, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of this pink, bit of that purple, get some of that together here. And I usually go in one of the corners, so I'm just going to go in this bottom right corner. You can sign it however you'd like. I usually just do my last name and the year. And that is it. Wash off your brush, rinse it off there, and you are good to go. Thank you for joining me today with this painting. I know it was a little bit of a long one, but I appreciate you sticking this one out and doing this one. I really enjoyed it. Make sure you check out my other step-by-step tutorials if you haven't already. That link is in the description for that full playlist. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to comment below or send me a message, brian@briansloanartist.com. We'll see you next time here on Brian Sloan Artist.